Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hi, you guys.
Well, are you guys staying dry? I can't tell if it's a guy or a girl. But yeah. How many times have we seen this? Unperturbed, still going ahead. I don't know. Is that a bicycle or is that a motorbike?
It looks like a little moped, and somehow it works.
Yeah, that's how bad the floods are in China, as we see over here as well. Now, we've been talking about Three Gorges Dam and the potential for it to displace or put in danger like 400 million people. And so here you have this flood. This is in Yichang, and this is in Hubei in China. And it's 20 kilometers away from the dam. And it's the first city downstream of the dam. So local residents suspect the flood was caused by a secretly released floodwater, which the Chinese government seems to do all the time without telling anybody.
Yeah, they seem to know a lot of things, and, they do a lot of things, too, and they just keep quiet.
So, here's the danger when Big Brother doesn't think that he has to report to anyone, respond to anyone. Nobody can question them. It's just craziness.
It's really sad. These are people's livelihoods just underwater now.
Yeah, the cars are floating away. And, China is getting hit very, very hard, as are so many, places across the globe. It's just been non-stop. And here we're talking about landslides, and you could see, this is again in China, due to all the rains. Very, very dangerous. I remember sitting on the porch in North Carolina having a cup of coffee with my friend Eric, and then all of a sudden, it had rained yesterday, the day before, and all of a sudden we just heard this boom, and that's what it was. It was a landslide on the other side of the mountain, and I can imagine, what these people are going through. Again, all this is adding to, obviously, people not having homes anymore, or, ending up in refugee camps sometimes. And then, of course, crop losses, tremendous crop losses, as well as loss of business. And, we're facing like everything you could think of right now. It's just, it's an amazing time to be in, a challenging time, most definitely. Think about how things were just like 5 years ago. Think about the difference today from 5 years ago, and then just even think about the difference now from 6 months ago.
Yeah, things are changing, and it's rapid change. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's just like increasing exponentially. If we were put on a graph right now, 12 million people affected, 78 killed. Severe floods continue across South and East China as we've been looking at it. There's videos down here. And of course, governments, they got to keep the people fed. Eventually people rebel if things get bad enough. So this leads to a lot of governments trying to grab other governments' resources. And here's over in India, this is out of the Hindu, 2 more people drowned Sunday, more than 9.26 lakh people displaced. That's an interesting number. I think they must mean, I don't know, thousands? As 23 out of Assam's 33 districts reel under floods. A lot of times we don't, 27,308 take refuge in 193 relief camps. And a lot of the camps get flooded out as well. And, India and China, of course, are building up their, their weapons all in that one particular area where the eclipse went through. So about 40% of this national park has been inundated by floodwaters due to the rains. You may not have heard about it, but there's a massive flood in Assam, as you see right here. And it's interesting too how we get natural disasters going on in areas that there's the potential for war and conflict. And I've talked about that before because I've noticed that, that there's been an uptick in natural disasters in areas where we have war going on or about to have. And here you see comprehensive new flood model finds millions of U.S. homeowners face flood risks. they're likely unprepared for or unaware of. 6 million more are at substantial risk of flooding compared to FEMA's maps, because things are changing. Now they're going to blame it on carbon emissions. We all know that the sun is way more powerful than carbon emissions. And, it's just, we understand that whole thing now. Everybody that's been following channels like this and the DAP 2030, Ice Age Farmer. So this is all changing. People that maybe didn't have any flood issues in the past, or maybe it really was once in 100 years, it's now, every season, once or twice.
Yeah. I mean, things are just marked difference. That's what I call it.
And this is another picture over in India. And then we have severe storm brings damaging winds and hail parts of New England, prompts a rare flash flood emergency. And, the worst affected area was Massachusetts. And, this is going back to some of my hometown areas, like in Connecticut. I can remember some floods that we've had in the past. And but most of them were always related to either a nor'easter, or a hurricane, and not like what you're seeing now coming by with just regular typical storms. And here you see all lanes of US 10 reopened after flood damage repairs and work moves to M30 bridges. How many bridges have we seen just wiped away by the water? It's this is up in Michigan, by the way, which we know about the dam failures. Just incredible. And talking about India and potential issues, there's also a glacier threat going on, as a study records 934 fragile moraine-dammed lakes in Himachal. And it's just another thing going on when we're looking at all these changes. And, with the rapid changes, it leads to rapid disasters, which we've seen. And one of the biggest movers for the change is going to be just more precipitation in the air. Obviously, we have a lot of volcanic activity going on, as you see here, strong eruptions in Guatemala and in Japan as well. Landslide buries a village in Indonesia. These are things we're hearing every single day. More and more volcanoes are waking up. And we're also recognizing the fact that in the past, volcanoes have played a much larger portion of a lot of the disasters and famines that we've seen around the globe. As we see here, massive eruption at Alaska's Akmak volcano in 43 BC, linked with cold weather, widespread famine, strange sightings in the sky, and the fall of the Roman Republic. We've been covering more and more of these. We were talking about, what was it, 576, I think, AD was another year that was extreme, with the weather events that now we recognize was also volcanically driven. There's been a lot of these events. And with what we have going on right now, we're going to see more of it.
Yeah, and everything is cyclical, and it's definitely looking like we're moving into this interesting uptick cycle.
So they got this information from new measurements made on ice cores from Greenland and from Russia. And some of them were actually drilled in the 90s, but they were able to correlate it to an eruption way, way back in 43 BC. And so companies expect climate change to cost them $1 trillion in 5 years, to add to everything else that's going on to basically destroy the whole economic situation globally. And over here we see New Zealand ski areas experience a record weekend as, of course, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in summer. And they are in winter down there, and widespread frost engulfs eastern Australia as well. And here we see scientific paper proves clouds control the climate, not man. And when we have an increase of clouds, volcanic activity again, which is related again to the sun, to cosmic rays, to, basically more radiation coming in. And as we know, we are in the magnetic pole reversal, so that's lowering our magnetosphere, as is the lack of sunspots and being in a grand solar minimum. So it's all adding up to a lot of catastrophes.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just one piled after the other. It's just more and more shocking every day.
So we're looking at another case, 1108, a massive volcanic eruption in Japan caused a famine in Europe. It's interesting how they're coming out with all these studies now. And, there was also this, trying to think of which one it was. It's an insurance company. We were just talking about it a few days ago. One of the world's biggest insurance companies just came out saying that like in the next 5 to 10 years, the likelihood of a massive volcanic eruption was really high. Predictive programming, I mean, have they known this all along, or are they just discovering these things right today? It's interesting. And Zealandia, Earth's lost eighth continent. We've been talking and learning more about this. Again, being the apocalypse, everything's getting revealed. And I got to wonder if this is part of Mu, Lemuria. And now they say this, most of this continent's under 3,500 feet of water. Of course, New Zealand is part of this continent. But New Zealand's only, I think, 6% of the total area of what this was. And this was, around half the size of Australia or thereabouts. Now, of course, they're saying that all this happened and this went under a long time ago. But was it really that long ago? You got to wonder. They always want us to think these changes come so slow. But look at how everything has progressed so quickly in just, the last few years since the Revelation 12 sign or since the eclipse in August 2017. It's like all hell broke loose from that point forward. And it seems to be just picking up speed. So it's basically 2 million square miles, about half the size of Australia. Only 6% is above sea level. The rest is underwater. It's making it difficult to survey. And perhaps it's even bigger. But like we had said before, if you guys have been following the channel, an interesting group of people that live over in eastern India are called the Nagas. And they say they came from a continent, a land that is now submerged. They escaped when it went under. And, of course, that gets us thinking about, Atlantis over in the Atlantic as well. But what if these things didn't happen millions of years ago, as they want to tell us right here? Millions of years ago, sure. What if it was just in the not-so-distant past, maybe 30, 40, 50,000 years ago? And I just think they're always covering things up.
Yeah, well, definitely. Look at everything we've learned in school has completely changed. Everything.
Yeah, the science has changed tremendously. So first came Brexit, then came you know what, and now the Brits face
hordes of disease. Disease-ridden horseflies. Yummy.
Yeah, and we were just watching in Florida, too. There's a whole bunch of West Nile cases. It's just coming out of the woodwork again. And so just one more thing, and that thing almost looks robotic to me. Doesn't it almost look like it's a little drone?
Such cool eyes.
Aren't they? Mm-hmm. It almost hits me like a drone, like it's not really alive. And, of course, horseflies are nasty. They are nasty. They hurt. And these are carrying disease, just what we need. Well, can you believe it? This woman has 44 kids, and she's raising them alone because, the husband took off on her. 44 kids. You might say, well, how old is she? Is she like 80 now? No, she's only 41. What? Well, she's had quadruplets. She's had 3 sets of quadruplets, 4 sets of triplets, and 6 sets of twins. That's amazing. Oh my God, that's exhausting to think about that.
No, I'm just not gonna. I've already blocked it out.
She was married and at 12 to a husband that was 40, 28 years older, and obviously very fertile. Amazing. And Western IQ has dropped by 14 points in the last century. So says the study. I wonder if that has anything to do with what's sprayed in the sky, the GMO foods, the fact that food in general has a lot less nutrition in it. If you had a carrot that was just grown, say 100, 150 years ago in soil in Pennsylvania, let's say, over at Sherry's farm over there, it would have probably twice or more the nutrition that it does now. So you got to wonder, Western IQs are dropping. And it's a lot of it's society. Now we know we're being taught a lot of stuff that gets revised constantly. And so much of our learning is really just indoctrination. But, here it says it's not just you. People are really getting dumber, according to a new study. Scientists in Europe used visual response times recorded in Western studies from 1889 to 2004. The idea is the faster a person reacts, the smarter you supposedly are. Simple reaction time measures correlate substantially with measures of general intelligence and are considered elementary measures of cognition. So, interesting. It just says that things got to change, and we know things got to change. So 10 things unemployed preppers should do ASAP. And the number one thing is communicate. So they suggest checking back with your former employer. If you were put on a temporary furlough, you never know. You might just call and they might just say, well, yeah, we're able to hire 3 positions back. Do you want to come back in? You never know. Network is always a good idea as well. Learn new skills and, things that are going to be in need moving forward. In our society, perhaps most jobs and perhaps most learning is going to be done distance in the future. Think about it. It seems like we are going to be wearing things over our face for the foreseeable future.
Well, the distance healing, though, has been working incredibly well. So it does make you go,
Yeah, it does. And we had a client today that we've worked on before. And so that, many, many, many times, but in person back on the East Coast. And so, she said, I trust in you and I believe in you and we know that you guys can do it. I just don't understand how you could do it from being on the West Coast or on the West Side. And, it's quantum entanglement is what it is. Everything is entangled. We are all consciousness in a sea of consciousness. So we are all drops in the ocean and the ocean is connected. To get back to this, so, perhaps think about things that you could do online, basically. And then again, even maybe think further ahead, because, as far as prepping goes, because as we know, eventually that grid's going down, whether it's the sun or something else. It's just a matter of time. So, it's good to get self-sufficient, and that goes into 4, grow and raise your own food, plan meals for the economy. Just think about it. Those that have some beans and rice and lentils, and maybe, things for making your own bread, oats, things that store a long time, it's money in the bank. And you could look at it that way. And also we've talked about saving seeds, of course, always organic. And, I was watching somebody yesterday who has a very big channel and it's all on homesteading. And, I kind of couldn't believe my ears because she was, using a lot of hybrids this year and she always used heirloom. And I'm thinking, boy, she needs to be educated on that because she said, you might not have as much luck trying to get them to grow from the hybrids, but that's not the point. The point is that, again, things being genetically altered, it's all things that affect our DNA as well. Maintain mental and physical health. That's imperative, and every day, everyday basis. Revise your budget, obviously, and we're going to be in for some inflation on basic goods. That's going to be coming big time. So recognize that food's going to go way up. Again, it's a good idea to have some things stocked up that last a long time. Look for free stuff and trade stuff you don't need. And, I was one of those people that, if something went bad, I would always go and get a new one. And, it's a friend of mine that was very, very wealthy would always take me shopping at Goodwill and stuff. And I'd be like, well, really? Why are we going to Goodwill? Well, why pay more? Why not? And then plus you're also, we know there's corporate issues with every company, but try to support things that are doing good for others. Reinvent your career, and it's an opportunity to maybe do what you really, really want to do as well. Take the opportunity to do that and learn from the experience of others. So that is also something that we should always keep our eyes open to.
Really, really good stuff there for if you find yourself stuck.
So guys, thank you so much for your support on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time support for the channel or monthly as well, just like you could over on Patreon. We appreciate you guys so much. We couldn't keep going without you. So as always, God bless, stay safe, and stay prepared. Namaste.
Namaste.